Hagoromo. Look, we gotta start with the literal grandfather of every Sharingan user in existence. Hagoromo was the first person to naturally awaken the Sharingan. Hagoromo developed the base Sharingan after finding his dead lover Haori. Yeah, the classic trauma. Unlock we all know. But here's where it gets crazy. Hagoromo awakened both his Mangekyo Sharingan and the Rinnegan at the same time, when he had to strike down his brother Hamura, who was being mind-controlled by Kaguya. He went from 3 tomoe to dual god-tier dojutsu in one emotional breakdown. His Mangekyo abilities, well, we barely saw them in the anime, but what we did see was his Susanoo, matching the size of the original 10 tails. For context, that makes every other Susanoo in the series look like action figures. And unlike every other Mangekyo user who goes blind from overuse, Hagoromo had 0 drawbacks. He could spam that thing 24/7 because of his Otsutsuki genetics. Hagoromo's the measuring stick. Everyone else is chasing what he already perfected. Right after him, we got his son Indra. This is where it all started for the Uchiha clan. Indra Otsutsuki is the literal ancestor of every single Sharingan user who came after him. This one was a prodigy from birth, inherited his father's chakra, his dojutsu, and basically all the talent. While his brother Ashura was struggling with everything, Indra was inventing ninjutsu from scratch. He unlocked his Sharingan after saving his brother's life, and later awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan by straight-up killing his 2 closest friends. He did it cold-bloodedly, knowing his eyes got stronger through personal loss. The whole point was to gain enough power to take on Hagoromo and Ashura after being passed over as successor. His Mangekyo ability was called Hinokagutsuchi, and it worked just like Amaterasu, eternal black flames that can't be put out. In fact, it was basically the origin of both Amaterasu and Kagutsuchi. His dojutsu was so powerful that he could paralyze an opponent with just a single glance, and Indra had a perfect Susanoo right out the gate. Indra did it immediately because of his Otsutsuki genetics and insane chakra reserves. And Indra never went blind. Yeah, he was an Otsutsuki. As we move out of the god-tier era and into the Warring States period, we come face-to-face with none other than Madara. Madara Uchiha awakened his Mangekyo during the Warring States period, alongside his brother Izuna. Both were the first Uchiha to unlock it after Indra himself. But when Izuna died in battle against the Senju, Madara took his eyes and became the first person to awaken the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which removed all the blindness drawbacks. Now, Madara's actual unique Mangekyo abilities were never named or properly shown in canon. Kishimoto basically skipped over them because Madara went straight to EMS, then later to Rinnegan, so there was no point dwelling on his base Mangekyo powers. But the Naruto Storm video games, which contained semi-canon material supervised by Kishimoto's team, revealed something insane. Madara's Mangekyo had time manipulation abilities. His right eye could record an opponent's movements and attacks in real time, essentially bookmarking a moment. His left eye could then rewind time back to that exact moment, negating whatever happened. You land a killing blow on Madara. He just rewinds the last 5 seconds and dodges it. It's essentially a manual save state ability in a combat scenario. Well, it's the only explanation we've ever gotten. But we do know for certain that Madara's EMS gave him perfect control over the Nine Tails. During his fight with Hashirama at the Valley of the End, he summoned Kurama and put him under complete genjutsu control, forcing the beast to fight alongside his Susanoo. That level of genjutsu potency is absurd. Kurama is a sentient chakra entity with insane willpower, and Madara enslaved him with eye contact. The disrespect doesn't stop there. Madara could use Susanoo, too. His Susanoo had a unique dual-face design that no other user has replicated. It had 2 distinct sides fused along the spine, each with its own face and arms, wielding his undulating blades. And on top of that, he was the only one who ever showed the ability to give his clone Susanoo as well. Madara represents the Uchiha ceiling before God Mode powers kicked in. Everything Sasuke struggled to achieve across 700 chapters, Madara did casually in his prime. Izuna. Izuna Uchiha was Madara's younger brother, and the second Uchiha ever to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan during the Warring States period. His Mangekyo pattern had 3 straight bars stretching from his enlarged pupil clean, symmetrical. Absolutely iconic. But Kishimoto never showed us his actual abilities in canon. Not once. We saw the eyes. We know he had them, but we never got to see what they did. He died way too soon. With his dojutsu, Izuna was strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Tobirama Senju multiple times. Tobirama was even cautious about looking directly into Izuna's Sharingan because of his genjutsu skills. But in their final battle, Tobirama caught Izuna off guard with Flying Raijin and mortally wounded him. Madara retreated with his dying brother, and Izuna made the ultimate sacrifice. He willingly gave Madara his eyes, so his brother could unlock the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and avoid going blind. As we move from the Warring States into the Konoha era, we definitely gotta talk about Fugaku. Yeah, he had Sharingan. However, Kishimoto never confirmed his Mangekyo Sharingan in the manga. It only exists in anime and novels. During the Third Shinobi War, enemy shinobi literally trembled when they heard the name Wicked Eye, Fugaku. That nickname alone tells you this dude was terrifying on the battlefield. He awakened his Mangekyo after watching a close friend die during the war, but kept it secret from the entire Uchiha clan. Why? Because he knew, if his power-hungry relatives found out, they'd pressure him to use it to control the Nine Tails and attack Konoha. He had god-tier eyes, and refused to use them because he understood the consequences. So what could his Mangekyo actually do? Nobody knows the exact abilities in canon, but he was so confident that he could control the Nine Tails with it, which would put his ocular prowess on par with Obito and Madara. Finally, Fugaku let Itachi murder him, without even using his eyes to defend himself. He and Mikoto just accepted death because they believed in their son's judgment. Shisui Uchiha, known as Shisui of the Body Flicker, earned his reputation during the Third Shinobi War because sensory-type ninjas couldn't even track his movements. He moved so fast that he could create dozens of physical afterimages that actually had striking force, not clones. Not illusions, but tangible copies created purely from speed. Enemy shinobi from all 5 great nations feared him on sight. But the real nightmare was his Mangekyo Sharingan ability, Kotoa Matsukami. This is arguably the most broken genjutsu in the entire series. It rewrites your thoughts without you ever knowing you were manipulated. Unlike every other Sharingan genjutsu that requires eye contact, Kotoa Matsukami activates the moment Shisui can see you. Danzo used it on Mifune at the 5 Kage summit without even removing his bandages. Kotoa Matsukami doesn't suppress your consciousness or trap you in an illusion. It plants a single idea into your brain and then reshapes all your memories, emotions, and thought patterns to make you believe that idea was yours all along. You'll rationalize every decision based on that implanted thought, completely convinced you're acting on free will. The victim has zero awareness they've been compromised. Shisui planned to use this on Fugaku during the Uchiha coup to make him abandon the rebellion entirely. Think about that, he was going to rewrite the mind of one of the strongest Uchiha alive without Fugaku ever knowing. That's when Danzo ambushed him, stole his right eye using Izanagi, and forced Shisui to give his remaining eye to Itachi before committing suicide. The cooldown is brutal. Though once used, Kotoa Matsukami can't be activated again from that eye for 10 years. But if both eyes are used simultaneously on the same target, the implanted command becomes an absolute obsession that warps every thought until the victim follows through. Itachi. Of course, Itachi of the Sharingan. This dude awakened his Sharingan at age 8. And by the time he hit 13, he was an BU captain. Let that sink in. His Mangekyo awakened after witnessing Shisui's suicide. And that's when he became genuinely terrifying. Left eye, Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu so broken, it manipulates time and space. He killed his girlfriend Izumi by trapping her in Tsukuyomi, making her live out an entire lifetime in a blink, dying of old age. Right eye Amaterasu. Black flames hot as the sun that burned for 7 days straight. Water doesn't stop it. Regular fire doesn't stop it. You basically just die. Then there's his Susanoo, the only one with both the Totsuka blade. Seals anything it stabs into genjutsu forever, and Yatamira reflects any jutsu. Zetsu straight up called him invincible, despite being ravaged by terminal illness. Orochimaru tried to jack his body and got folded, without Itachi even lifting a finger. The disrespect was unreal. Now we're diving into the strongest Sharingan users after the massacre. First up, we gotta mention Obito. You wanna talk broken? Obito literally made the fourth Hokage sweat. Right from the jump. He popped off with a 2 tomoe Sharingan, which is wild since most Uchiha only unlock theirs with 1. And then, he awakened his Mangekyo after watching Rin die, and both eyes unlocked. Kamui, one of the most disgustingly overpowered space-time jutsu in the series. Right eye gives short-range Kamui. What looks like intangibility is actually him phasing body parts into a pocket dimension so fast it seems like attacks pass through him. The left eye does long-range sniping, creates a barrier that warps whatever it touches straight to the Kamui dimension. Both connect to the same dimension, which is genius design. Here's the bullshit part. Obito used Kamui damn near 24/7 and never went blind. Why Hashirama cells grafted into his body probably prevented the Mangekyo's vision loss. Meanwhile, at the beginning, Kakashi could barely use it twice without collapsing. The only counter is that Kamui maxes out at 5 minutes of continuous intangibility. Conan tried exploiting that with 600 billion paper bombs. Also, he can't attack and stay intangible simultaneously, and has to solidify before striking. Minato caught that, like Lin. 2-second window, with Flying Thunder God. Still nearly untouchable though. Legitimately ridiculous. He was crazy good at genjutsu. Just with his Sharingan, he could straight up control tailed beasts. And he even kept the 3 tails Jinchuriki, the 4th Mizukage, under his thumb for years. And if things ever got dicey, Obito had a cheat code Izanagi. That's a jutsu that literally rewrites reality. Most ninjas can only pull it off for a few seconds. But Obito, thanks to his Hashirama boost, could stretch it to 10 whole minutes. Basically, he could undo death, fix any screw-up, and just keep winning. The only catch is that he couldn't use Susanoo. If he could, honestly, he might have been flat-out unstoppable. Kakashi. Kakashi's a non-Uchiha on this list. Yet he's the one they literally named Kakashi of the Sharingan. He got the eye from Obito during the Third Shinobi World War, after Obito was crushed by a boulder, and it awakened into a Mangekyo after Kakashi accidentally killed Rin. The problem is that since he's not an Uchiha, the Sharingan constantly drains his chakra, and he can't turn it off. Early in the series, using Kamui 3 times would leave him bedridden. That's embarrassing compared to Obito, spamming it non-stop. Well, yeah, he didn't have the Hashirama cells buff. But give Kakashi credit, he copied over one. 000 jutsu with that eye. He mimicked Zabuza's water dragon technique mid-fight, and could even use genjutsu to trick Zabuza into thinking he finished the hand signs before Zabuza did. The disrespect. His Kamui could only do long-range warping, initially, turning targets into dimensional roadkill. Slower than Obito's version. Way more chakra-intensive, but still lethal. Then during the war arc, Obito's spirit temporarily gave him both Mangekyo eyes, plus 6 paths chakra, unlocking a perfect Susanoo. He combined Kamui with his Raikiri and pierced straight through Kaguya Otsutsuki at incomprehensible speed. And remember, the entire Team 7 barely managed to land a single hit on her. That whole fight, for like 10 minutes? Kakashi was genuinely top 5, alive. Then the buff wore off, and he went back to being mortal. Wild ride. In the end, after Obito's spirit left, and the 6 paths chakra was gone, that was also the end of the name Kakashi of the Sharingan. Danzo. This man is the absolute definition of playing with cheat codes. Danzo had 11 Sharingan, total 10, embedded in his right arm, plus Shisui's Mangekyo in his right eye socket. His body was modified by Orochimaru with Hashirama cells to prevent rejection. His whole strategy revolved around Izanagi, a forbidden jutsu that rewrites reality itself, turning death and injuries into temporary illusions. Each Sharingan gave him 60 seconds of invincibility, meaning he could cheat death for 10 full minutes straight. Get stabbed. No. That was an illusion. Burned alive. Didn't happen. He'd just respawned somewhere else completely unharmed. But of course, every use permanently blinds one Sharingan forever. Danzo treated them like consumable items in a video game. Then there's Shishui's Eye, Koto Amatsukami, the ultimate mind control genjutsu that makes victims think they're acting on free will while being completely manipulated. Normally has a decade-long cooldown, but Hashirama cells reduced it. His downfall, Sasuke noticed the 6-0-second intervals between Izanagi activations, paced the fight accordingly, then hit him with a simple genjutsu, making Danzo think he had one extra Sharingan left when he didn't. Got caught lacking on basic math, and died for it. Well, messing with the Uchiha in eye battles is a bad move. You know, Shin Uchiha. Shin Uchiha isn't even a real Uchiha, which is the most hilarious part about this dude. He was Orochimaru's test subject, who became obsessed with Itachi, and straight up stole the Uchiha name for himself. The guy's entire existence is built on fanboy energy taken to a psychotic extreme. But here's what makes Shin actually dangerous. His body has a unique genetic makeup that accepts any transplant with zero rejection. Tissue, organs, eyeballs, whatever. That's why he's got Sharingan implanted all over his body like some deranged Pokemon. And Orochimaru even harvested his Sharingan-covered arm and gave it to Danzo. So, if you wondered where Danzo got that nasty arm from, yeah, it came from this weirdo. His Mangekyo Sharingan lets him telekinetically control any weapon he's marked. Sounds boring compared to Amaterasu or Tsukuyomi. Right. But the broken part is he can spam it endlessly without going blind or running out of chakra. Unlimited Mangekyo usage is actually insane when you think about it. The wildest part is that when he got injured, he just casually performed surgery on himself and harvested organs from his own clones to replace his damaged ones. He treated his clones, who he called his sons, as disposable organ donors. His entire philosophy was that peace stops human evolution. So, he wanted to revive Akatsuki to start more wars. Social Darwinism at its finest. He got killed by his own clones when they turned on him mid-battle. Poetic justice for treating them like spare parts. Sasuke, the poster boy of the Sharingan. The rival everyone measures themselves against. Sasuke first awakened his Sharingan at age 7 during the Uchiha massacre. Though the trauma made him forget he'd unlocked it, he properly reawakened it during the Land of Waves arc fighting Haku. His Mangekyo Sharingan has Amaterasu in his left eye, and Kagutsuchi in his right eye. Here's what makes Sasuke nasty with it. While Itachi could only summon Amaterasu, Sasuke can actually shape and manipulate the black flames however he wants. He can create weapons like spears and swords, or coat his Susanoo in the flames as defense. Better control than his genius brother. That's actually wild when you think about it. But here's the problem with the regular Mangekyo. Sasuke's excessive usage almost completely deteriorated his eyesight, to the point where he was going blind mid-battle. Right before the Fourth Shinobi World War, Obito transplanted Itachi's eyes into Sasuke, giving him the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. This reduced his chakra drain considerably and caused no strain to his health or eyesight. Then came the biggest power-up. After meeting the Sage of Six Paths during the war, Hagoromo gave his Sasuke half his chakra, transforming his left Mangekyo into a Rinnegan. Not just any Rinnegan. Sasuke's has 6 tomoe on it, suggesting greater ocular power than a regular Rinnegan. His Rinnegan grants him Ameno Tekikara, letting him instantly swap places with anything within range. He's mastered this to swap himself with kunai, people, even jutsu, mid-flight. The Rinnegan also gives him access to all 6 paths abilities. Preta path to absorb chakra, Asura path for mechanical augmentation, human path to rip out souls, animal path for summons. What's broken is that Sasuke retained his Sharingan abilities in his Rinnegan because of how Hagoromo awakened it, meaning he can use Amaterasu, Kagutsuchi, and Susanoo alongside his Rinnegan powers. Most Rinnegan users lose their Sharingan abilities, Sasuke didn't. Unfortunately, Boruto destroyed Sasuke's Rinnegan while being controlled by Momoshiki, leaving him with just his right eternal Mangekyo. This makes Sasuke the last eternal Mangekyo Sharingan user in Boruto. Sarada, Sasuke's daughter, the future Hokage candidate, and currently the only active Mangekyo Sharingan user in Konoha. She actually unlocked her Mangekyo back in Boruto Naruto Next Generations when she heard about Naruto's supposed death, but she didn't even realize she had awakened it. Only Sasuke witnessed it happen. Fast forward to Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and Sarada finally tapped into her Mangekyo consciously during the Land of Wind arc. Her ability is called Ohirum, named after the sun goddess Amaterasu, and it's genuinely broken. Here's how it works. Sarada can create up to 4 black spheres that range from 5 to 250 centimeters in size. These spheres exert gravitational force disproportionate to their mass, basically artificial black holes. She can control what gets absorbed and what doesn't. And the bigger the sphere, the stronger the gravity. The combat applications are disgusting. She can select specific targets within her field of vision to affect with the gravity, which means she could theoretically pull you into a black hole, while your teammate standing right next to you remains untouched. She can also detonate the spheres, like bombs, adding explosive damage on top of the gravitational crush. But wait, there's more. By targeting herself with the gravitational force and balancing the pull from multiple spheres, Sarada can fly at high speeds, like an Otsutsuki. She's literally giving herself pseudo-flight through controlled gravity manipulation. When she used this against Ryu, the Shinju got absolutely shattered into pieces almost instantaneously from the gravitational pull. We're talking about someone who tanked attacks from multiple Jonin-level fighters, getting obliterated like he was nothing. Now, here's the kicker. This is only half of her Mangekyo abilities. Most Mangekyo Sharingan users have 2 distinct abilities, one in each eye. Itachi had Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu. Sasuke had Amaterasu and Kagutsuchi. Sarada's second ability hasn't been revealed yet, which means she's got another broken power waiting to drop. The obvious downside, Ohirume consumes an overwhelming amount of chakra, and like all Mangekyo Sharingan, the more she uses it, the more her eyesight deteriorates. Sarada is currently facing the same hazard of going blind that every Mangekyo user faces. The only way to obtain eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is by transplanting the Mangekyo eyes of a close blood relative. Sarada has no siblings. Her only option would be transplanting Sasuke's eyes. But there's another possibility. She might pick up the 100 healings technique, and that could let her use the Mangekyo without going blind. So Sarada's sitting on the most overpowered Mangekyo ability we've seen since Kamui. She's got a mystery, second ability, unrevealed, and she's on a timer before she goes blind. The setup for her character is absolutely nuts. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.